Welcome to the Outlifting Lounge, the show all about pride, fitness, and everything in between. I'm Derek.
And I'm Alan. In today's episode, we're going to have a quick catch up about our week, discuss the Drag Race UK finale. There will be spoilers. I'll also have a chat about the 5 most common workout mistakes that we see all the time.
And we'll tell you how to fix them so you don't sabotage your results in the gym. Let's go.
All right, let's have a wee quick catch up about our week.
It's been busy.
It's been very busy.
Anybody that follows us on social media will know that we have been running a Black Friday sale, quite a big one, and we've had a huge response to that. So we have been kept on our toes, shall I say.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. We've been so busy. Loads of people messaging us about booking in for our calls. We've had loads of calls and we've had loads of people signing up as well. So it's been non-stop.
Pretty exhausting, not had time for much. I'm not complaining because it is good to be kept busy. It's good that the business is doing well, but at the same time, I'm going to be looking forward to having a little rest at the end of the Black Friday promo. We can maybe even go to the beach one day.
Well, the thing is, all those people that have signed up are going to need to get onboarded and their program's done, but that's my
It's a
job.
lot
So,
of work. It's a
so
lot of
maybe
work.
you'll be going to the beach on your own.
We preach to people that downtime's important, rest's important, so we need to listen to our own advice.
Yeah, we've not really had a day off in about a couple of weeks now, have we?
No,
So,
not in a while.
we need to, definitely beach day priority.
Yeah. I think anybody that runs their own business knows that this can be what it's like sometimes, that you do sacrifice some time off occasionally when the needs of the business dictate it.
And we're not moaning. We're very privileged to be able to do what we do. So, we're just stating fact.
We did manage to find some time to catch up with Darren
Yeah.
this week, yeah.
That was good. Yeah. Darren used to be a client of ours, and he's also the author of Death at the Yumbo Centre. He's actually researching for, spoiler, Death at the Yumbo Centre 2. He'd put some things on his story asking people for ideas, and he was telling us about some of them, but won't be giving any of those spoilers away.
Absolutely not.
No.
You want to be kept in the dark. You don't want any spoilers.
Was that a hint? Kept in the dark room? That's a spoiler for book 1.
Who can say, yeah, who can say what's going to be in book 2? I want Sparkles to feature and to be called Sprinkles. I think that would be perfect.
And then I said the other day, why don't we just call it Hundreds and Thousands?
This is why you're not writing the book.
Anybody out of the UK probably doesn't know what hundreds and thousands are. Anyway, we digress.
I think the only other thing that we've had time to do this week is tune in for the Drag Race UK finale episode.
I wasn't as excited to watch the final as I usually am for other franchises, and I think that's because Bonnie and Clyde was out, and like the 4 drag queens that were left in it were really, really good. I think Elle Vosk was one of our favourites, and Catherine Feelings was another one of mine. It was an okay episode. I, I think the problem is we watch too much Drag Race. There's too much Drag Race. I'm putting it out there. I'm saying it. There's too much Drag Race.
I don't agree. I think there can never be too much Drag Race, but there was a comment made in one of the episodes that portrayed Bonnie and Clyde as the older queen this season. And I mean, for God's sake, if Bonnie and Clyde is being put into that category, then they clearly didn't have enough older or more experienced queens in there, because Bonnie's young.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was part of the problem. When you look at the previous season, Lavoie, it was about the balance. And that friendship that Lavoie and Karen Thrax built up it was really beautiful, and it made especially the finale quite special. The season before that, we had Michael Maruli and Ginger, and they were really experienced seasoned queens, knew what they were doing. That's maybe what this season lacked a little bit.
Can you tell that Derek is a super fan of Drag Race?
Going into the finale, I was rooting for Elle.
I was rooting for you.
I was rooting for you. I was rooting for Elle. I wanted Elle to take it home to Belfast. She's my Belfast queen. I think she has had the strongest track record. And fair play to Bones. Bones has been a strong contender, come up with some really strong looks and performed quite well. So she deserves the victory. Will not take that away from her. Give her flowers. But I am a little bit disappointed that Elle didn't win.
Yeah, Elle definitely I think was amazing for such a young queen as well. She was head and shoulders above the rest. Can I also say as well that when they had their sit down talk with Rue and Michelle, how much they all look like their parents that came in. They were all the spit and image, but yeah, Drag Race UK, done.
And we don't mean that in a bad way. We just mean that now we can focus on catching up with Drag Race España and watching Drag Race Canada
Yes.
before Drag Race US starts. And then we've got all of the other seasons to look forward to. And we've got Drag Race Down Under All
All
Stars.
Stars versus the world.
Sorry, Drag Race Down Under versus the world to look forward to in the new year. We've also got Drag Race Mexico Latino Royale.
I actually can't. I can't.
Drag Race, Drag Race, Drag Race.
There's too much. But we will make a point of watching Drag Race Down Under versus the world, Super All Stars, All Winners, or whatever the it's called. Because rumour is that Michael Marulli is in it, and obviously we will always champion Michael.
We love Michael. He is our favourite to win. We're backing him all the way if he's in it.
So I'll be invested in that one. I'll just watch the other ones.
So from fluffy gay pop culture, shall we talk about something more serious in the LGBT world?
Serious and positive, yes.
Serious and positive. This is really good news because there was a case before the EU Court of Justice and it has issued a very important ruling that all EU member states must respect and recognise same-sex marriages that have been carried out in other EU member states, regardless of what the law is in that specific country.
Super positive news. It's all on the back of a Polish couple that lived in Germany and they got married there and then they moved back to Poland. They wanted to register their marriage there, and unfortunately, a government there said it was a no-no.
Was that the technical legal term that they used?
That was, yeah.
It was a no-no. Uh-oh.
Computer says no.
It's a whoopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Polish court then referred it to the EU court, which has issued this historic ruling. And this is just another example. We see this time and time again that our rights, LGBT rights, have had to be progressed by being taken to court and fought hard for and won.
It's a positive thing coming out of the European Union as well, because they're the ones that are deciding that all 27 member states have to abide by this.
The reason for this is basically protection of human rights. So every EU citizen has the right to reside, to work in other EU countries. They've got the right to a private family life. And what the judge found was that by not recognising the marriage that had been conducted in Germany, Polish authorities had essentially infringed upon their human rights in those regards. There are certain EU member states that are really regressive on LGBT rights. So we see Poland in
Yeah.
particular has been, although we're seeing progress start to happen there, little shoots. Hungary is probably the most regressive, and also Slovakia, which has made some changes to their laws recently as well.
Yeah. Was there not something recently in Hungary, the guy who organised the Pride parades, and he's had criminal charges brought against him?
The Hungarian government had passed law back in March, I think, banning pride parades, which is insane, especially for an EU country
Yeah.
to be doing this. And so he has now fallen foul of this law, and they are charging him. Well, they have charged him, and they're going to try and, have a criminal prosecution against him for organizing a pride parade. Just something that is basic fundamental civil rights.
Yeah. And it's something that we take for granted as well, coming from the UK where pride parades happen all over the country. But also living here in Gran Canaria, again, it just makes us realise how lucky and privileged we are to be able to live here and have the life that we have.
Yeah. And I think this should be a wake-up call in particular for maybe the generation below us.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be hyper aware of a slide backwards that's happening right across the Western world, because they really need to now realize that they can't rest on their laurels. And this is, I'm not preaching at them, but I am saying none of us can afford to rest on our laurels, because this is really serious. Your rights can be taken away. And in any country as well, it can happen. A right-wing party can sweep into power and make these changes.
Yeah. I mean, just look at all the rhetoric that's coming out of reform at the minute about same-sex marriage and same-sex couples. So, yeah, it can be taken away from us like overnight.
Look at what's happening in the States. There was some polling the other day that came out that support for same-sex marriage in the United States of America has slipped from 70-something percent, I think it was maybe like 74%, down to 55%.
Scary.
Constant propaganda put out to the general population that changes opinions.
Uh-huh.
There are really dark forces at work that are trying to take these things away, and they're trying to get the public on side with them to take these rights away.
Yeah, and that's why this news from the EU is so positive because it's actually a step in the right direction for us rather than the other way.
Yeah, definitely a win worth celebrating. Shall we move on to the fitness section of the show?
Let's do it.
Many people can spend hours in the gym but see little progress. Why? It's because they're making mistakes that sabotage their results. Today, we will cover the 5 most common workout mistakes that we see, and we'll tell you how to fix them so that every minute that you train counts. Alan, do you want to start us off with mistake number 1?
Skipping a warm up or doing it wrong. Now, this is something that we see in the gym quite often. Your warm up is so important and it should kind of reflect what you're going to be doing that day, obviously. So, if you're doing lower, definitely do a warm up on your legs, and it doesn't have to take forever either. Just maybe doing some like body weight squats, if you are doing lower, for example, some lunges, and then just some movements that are going to emulate the movements that you're going to be doing in your actual workout as well.
Yeah, going into a workout cold is never a good idea because it does open you up to a whole range of injuries, and then essentially you'll be out of action for a while. You won't be able to train, so it sets you back, and that's just not a good idea. So what you really want to do is have a warm up that will raise your core internal body temperature a little. And you also, as you said, want to mimic some of the movements you'll be doing and warm up the specific joints, because that will, for instance, get the synovial fluid into the joints to lubricate them and get them ready for work.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing I hear quite often is I can't be bothered doing a warm up. Okay, let me flip it, reverse it for you then. Can you be bothered being injured for 4 weeks and not being able to train? It
Totally.
literally can, it just needs to be 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be forever, before your actual workout. We know that people are like short on time and they just want to get in and get the workout smashed out. But warming up is so important.
It's really important for everybody to warm up. No matter who they are, you need to warm up. But it's especially important for people who maybe have a sedentary lifestyle or maybe an office job where they're sitting about lots. Because if you're just sitting about all day, your body's going to be quite stiff and immobile. And if you suddenly shock your body by going straight into a workout without warming up properly, that is a recipe for disaster.
A good analogy for it is imagine you get into your car and try to hit 100 miles an hour straight away. It's just going to be like, what the hell's happening here? It's the same thing with your body. You need to ease it in gently. But equally important is that you don't do the wrong kind of warm up.
The prime example of that is static stretching. It's really good to do static stretches after a workout. Brilliant, because they lengthen the muscles. Typically, a static stretch would be where you stretch the muscle and hold it for maybe 30 seconds, but that's not what you want to do before. So what, in your opinion, would a good warm-up consist of, if not static stretching?
So dynamic stretching is going to be the best way to warm up your body before a workout. So if we go back to that lower workout example I was talking about earlier, so like leg swings, for example, great way to warm up your hips. If you're going to do some body weight squats and some lunges, that's really going to get the synovial fluid moving and get the blood pumping and get you nice and warm so you're not going into the workout cold. And don't forget, warm up sets are also really important as well. So at the beginning of your sets, so say you've got 3 sets of whatever exercise, going a bit lighter on your first set, so making it 4 sets essentially, just to get that movement of that particular exercise is super important as well.
Yes, that is a top tip, because you need to make sure specifically for that movement pattern in that exercise that you're doing a little warm up for that as well at the start.
Yes. Right, let's move on to mistake number 2.
Okay, I'm going to take this one. Mistake number 2 is poor form. So, for those who don't know, form is essentially how you hold your body when you're setting up to do the exercise and while you're doing the exercise. So, an example of bad form would be if you are deadlifting. So, you're meant to hinge from your hip and you don't want to round your back over. So, that would be a common mistake. You would see people slump their shoulders round the back, and that is just going to cause injury. You want to lift your chest, you want a nice straight back, and you want to brace your core strong, hold your body strong so that you can really put the effort in that movement pattern into working your hamstrings in the back of your legs, into your glutes, and into your lower back. And then you're not putting strain on other parts of your body.
Absolutely. Another example of bad form would be bicep curls, for example, where you're using a lot of momentum to get the weight up. So you're swinging. So instead of your elbows being nice and tight and the movement coming from the elbow and coming up and contracting the bicep, a lot of the time you might see as a lot of swing. And that means that you're using a lot more muscles than actually the bicep.
And that is, I think it's natural as well because your body wants to cheat. Essentially, it wants to just use whatever it can to get this up. But that's not the point. The point is that you want to isolate the muscle group that you're meant to be working.
As humans, we like the path of least resistance. So that's why it happens.
That's it. That's it. And what it means is that you need to be switched on. You need to be very, very present during your workout. You can tend to zone out a little bit because it is so much exertion. You're tired. It's fatiguing you. But it really is crucial to keep that presence, to be in the moment and to think about what you're doing at all times.
Yeah. If you can sort your technique slash form from the start or from whenever you're going into the gym, it's going to have major, major positive results.
And it might seem a bit overwhelming at first because if you're going into the gym and you're doing several different exercises and there's all of these little form cues that you need to remember, it can seem a bit overwhelming, but really the point is for it to become second nature to you.
Mm.
We've been doing this so long, it does just become second nature to work from the ground up. You're thinking, okay, feet positioned, get that right, harmonies. You don't really even have to think through the actual steps anymore. Your body just becomes part of your muscle memory after a while.
And not only will bad form increase your chance of injury, it also is detrimental to your results as well. And that kind of comes into like ego lifting, for example, that we see sometimes on the gym floor. And you've definitely had experience with that teaching body pump as well.
Yeah. So
Not to be straight phobic or anything, but here we go.
yeah, every now and again, you would have got a new face, a new guy coming into the class who had been dragged there by their girlfriend. And at the start of the class, I would say to these guys, have you done this class before? And when they say no, I would say to them, look, please do not try to lift overly heavy today. This is a guideline of what weights you should use. Please don't lift the kind of weights that I'm lifting because I've been doing this for years. So you won't be able to go a little bit lighter, take it easy, learn the moves, and then you can add weight on subsequent classes. Do you think those guys listened?
Absolutely not.
No, because the ego took over.
Hmm.
They wanted to lift the same or more than me. And every single time without fail, literally by the end of the warm up, you could see how those guys were struggling. They couldn't let that ego go. They wanted to load up the bar with heavy weights, and the struggle was real, you know? And I saw that time and time and time again because you would never see those guys again. They would never come back for a second class.
Why? Because they couldn't walk after
Exactly. They must have
it.
hurt for a week afterwards because they wouldn't listen to the advice that I was giving them because their ego was getting in the way.
Yeah. And having that heavy weight on the bar is then preventing them to do a full range of motion. So, like a full squat, for example, or a full chest press. And that's where, this ego lifting comes in, getting your form right, getting your technique right. You need to get that from the start to improve your results.
And that's why ego lifting can be really difficult and it will impact on form as well. Because if you're lifting too heavy, more heavy than you should be, your technique and your form is going to be the first thing that goes out the window.
Exactly. So a quick fix is don't be worried about the weight that you're lifting. If you have to regress that weight, it's absolutely fine. If you're regressing the weight, lowering the weight and you're getting the technique and the form spot on, perfect. Do it. And maybe you might need to stay there maybe for a couple of weeks before you can then increase the weight again. But if your form is spot on, you are definitely going to be working the muscle the way it should be worked.
Yes, exactly. Let's move on to mistake number 3.
Okay, no progressive overload. So what that basically means in simple terms is that every week, every couple of weeks, you are improving your workout in some way. So that would either be adding more weight, reducing your rest time, adding more reps, adding more sets. Or even changing the tempo as well. There's means and ways of having progressive overload that isn't just adding weight.
What we've heard time and time again from people who come out and seek our help is that they have joined a gym, they have gone for their gym induction. A member of the gym floor staff has taken them through, showed them the gym, and written out a program card for them. And then they have stuck with that program card for every workout that they have done for months sometimes. And they don't really understand because it hasn't been explained to them that they really shouldn't be doing that. They should be progressing their workouts over time.
Yeah, that's spot on actually, because if you just lift the same weights at the same reps all the time, the chances are you're going to plateau. You're not going to improve or get the results that you want to get. A common exercise that clients speak to me about on check-ins is lateral raises, so side lateral raises. And it is a really, really difficult exercise to increase your weight on. So other ways to increase your intensity, like I said, is just slowing down that tempo as you're bringing the weight down, and you'll see that you'll be sweating because you're progressively overloading, even though it's not weight that you're adding. You're making that exercise a lot tougher week on week.
We've been playing with some different training styles in the gym recently, and I've really enjoyed some of that work. It's been very varied, very different. So one thing that you had us doing was some dumbbell flies, but we were working in the bottom range only. So the dumbbells would come down and we would only bring them up halfway and then back down. So instead of bringing them back up to the top and taking the tension out of the muscle, we were keeping them low while we performed the set. And that's another example of a way that you can progress your workout because it is more time that the muscle spends under tension, so it's having to work harder and work in a different way.
And today as well, we were doing those myo reps with our bicep curls. So we took our last set to failure, so we couldn't do any more. We waited 5 seconds. We then did another 3 reps. We then rested another 5 seconds.
Yeah, and then we just kept doing that until we couldn't do the 3 reps,
Yeah.
and it was a new challenge,
Yeah.
it was something different, and the burn in my biceps was
Oh
unreal.
my God. And it's funny because before it's the first time that we've done it. And before we went in to do that, I was like, I reckon I'm going to get an extra, like maybe 3, 4, 5 reps out of this. And it turned out there was like an extra 15. I was like, okay, I'll take that. But yeah, the pump that we got after that was amazing.
Absolutely. So that those are just some ways of showing that you can try different workout styles, you can add weights, you can add volume by doing more reps and things like that, but you absolutely need to do these things in order to see progress.
And a quick fix to that is making sure that you're actually tracking your workouts to see where you're progressing, where you're adding weight, where you're reducing your rest time, for example. So, yeah, track your workouts so that you can see where the progressive overload is coming from as well.
When you can see it in front of you over time, how you've been doing, you really get a better understanding of where your strengths are, where you need to improve, how you can do this.
Brilliant. Right, let's go into mistake number 4.
Okay. Mistake number 4 is overdoing cardio or neglecting it. So cardio exercise is really, really important part of your routine. Resistance training is really important as well, and the two really do go hand in hand. However, if you do too much cardio, it can impact your results in your resistance training. So that can hamper your progress as well. And likewise, if you're not doing enough cardio, you really might not have the stamina that you need to sustain in the gym, or you might not see the body composition changes that you're after.
Cardio is so important for your cardiovascular health. And a lot of people think that you need to be absolutely smashing out loads of cardio, but you don't.
I really saw the difference with this for me because I used to really like running, long distance running, ran a few marathons in my life as well. And for me, I had to learn that balance between what I was doing in the gym with my resistance training and all of the cardio training that I was doing.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it really depends on what your goal is. We want to make sure that whatever cardio you're introducing to your training program complements what you're doing with your resistance training as well. So, whatever your goal is, you just need to figure out what is going to be best for you.
Some people might go to the gym to help them out with their cycling or their running or their swimming or whatever it is. So naturally, their training plan will incorporate more cardio. So it really is about the individual, is about what you need and working that out.
Brilliant advice.
So do you want to finish us off with mistake number 5?
Yeah, so mistake number 5 is not resting enough. And we mean in between your training days, it's not particularly in between your exercises that you're doing within your routine.
Recovery is just as important as the training, probably more important than the training that you're doing in the gym. Because if you don't rest afterwards, you don't give your body space to recover and time to recover, what's the point? You're just putting your body under stress unnecessarily then.
And that rest can also be making sure that you don't train the same muscle groups on consecutive days as well, which is something quite often that I need to speak to clients about, and making sure that they've got, rest days in between consecutive muscle groups that they're working. And you don't want burnout either. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough rest to make sure that you're just giving your body enough time to recuperate, regenerate, and then you can hit your workouts even harder.
There is a tendency, especially when people hit that high with their training, where they're feeling strong, they're feeling energized, and you get this rush. It's almost like a high that you get from it. And you just want more, more, more. You want to be doing it. You want to be the fittest that you can. And people fall into the trap of overtraining, which is a real problem. And that opens you up again to injuries. It'll stall your progress. It'll hamper you. It'll hold you back. Taking it back a little bit, giving your body rest, feeding your body properly, making sure that you're drinking enough water, making sure that you're getting sufficient sleep. All of these things are crucial factors.
Sleep, I would say, is just as important as your training. You need to make sure that you're prioritizing sleep, and having a really good bedtime routine is super, super important for that as well.
I would say that sleep is probably my biggest struggle because I've spoken before about having ADHD, and one of the biggest features of my ADHD is disordered sleep. But I have a toolkit that I can reach into when my sleep does go out of whack. So I know that, for instance, having a shower not long before bed, we have got melatonin tablets there. And sometimes, if I know that my sleep has been a bit disordered, I can take a melatonin tablet maybe an hour before bed, and that can help. I don't want to ever rely on them, but if things get bad, that helps. And for me as well, just reading. So getting into a good pattern with reading, because I know that I can read a few pages of a book and my eyes start to feel heavy. Whereas if I am on my phone, you're not giving your brain that switch off. So you need to do that. You need to get off your digital devices. The only one that really is acceptable is a Kindle, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why prioritizing sleep and making sure that you're scheduling rest days are going to have huge impacts on your results.
Yes, absolutely. So that is all 5 of the most common mistakes that we see covered. If there are any mistakes that you have maybe made in the past that you have overcome that we haven't covered today, please feel free to get in touch with us. And likewise, if any of the advice that we have given today has struck a chord with you and helped you, please let us know. You can get in touch with us, give us feedback by emailing podcast@outlift.ing. You can always find us on socials as well. And if you have not subscribed to us there and followed us, please do. We are on Instagram and TikTok, and the username on both is the same. It is at outlift.ing. We'd love to hear from you. So send us a DM, send us an email with your thoughts, with your feedback.
We hope you found that really useful. But if you feel that you need some extra support with your fitness, we have our Black Friday offer that is running for the whole weekend. Now, spaces are limited and the offer will end on Monday, the 1st of December. We are offering 30% off of our typical coaching price. And if you sign up over the weekend, you will lock that price in for the entire time that you're with us in Outlifting. So if you want to book in for a call, we can have a chat, and you can find us at outlift.ing/Black Friday.
As always, thanks for tuning in to our show. If you are enjoying the Outlifting Lounge, we have a favor to ask you. Please help us to reach new audiences. And the best way that you can do that is by leaving a rating or a review for the show on whatever platform you are watching or listening to it on. So, literally, just click the 5 stars, the thumbs up, whatever it is. It will take you seconds to do, and it will really help us to grow the show.
And don't forget, there are new episodes of the Outlifting Lounge every Sunday on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music.
So, subscribe to stay up to date with the conversation.
Thanks for tuning in, but for now, over and outlifting.